Like,
He's been smiling ever since I said that.
warm, then it cools. It's warm, just like my school.
Like the closure.
It's either 90.
And then you close that once it's up.
And
You hit record up there.
I got my mouth over there. He's in it, recording.
And right on time at 7:30, so we will call this meeting to order. We will begin tonight with prayer and then a pledge. Our Father, who art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And deliver us from thine is the kingdom and the power.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America. To the
To
republic
the republic, always sustain, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice forever.
All right, roll call.
Osprey,
Present.
Foreman,
Present.
Keller,
Present.
Perry,
Present.
Reedy,
Present.
Kaufman.
And we'll note for the minutes that Chuck is present but virtual, so for quorum and voting, at least for right now, he unfortunately does not count, but he gets to participate. We'll have an update on that though. All right. But we do have a quorum, so we can have a meeting. First agenda item is the approval of the minutes from the January 10th special and regular meetings and the January 24th organizational regular meetings. So let's go with the do you want to vote on each of those individually, or can I do them by date, January 10th and January 24th?
I would do it individually.
All right. First, on the January 10th special meeting minutes.
Foreman moves, we approve them as written.
McCreary seconds.
Discussion. Roll call.
Osprey. Abstain. Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
It's an abstention.
I forgot. Perry,
Yes.
Reedy, Kaufman.
Yes. That's 3 yes, 0 no's, 3 abstentions. That's,
That's all there's to it, so.
I mean, I call that a almost majority. I'll vote, I will vote yes, just to make it there. I saw nothing wrong with them either. All right. Those minutes will be approved. Moving on to the January 10th regular meeting minutes.
Foreman makes a motion, we approve them as written.
McCreary seconds.
Discussion on those minutes. Hearing none, roll call.
Osprey.
Yes.
That's the first one.
Second.
I think January 10th.
No, this is January 24th.
You're
No, I'm-
Oh,
No, I'm on,
have to stand.
I'm on the January 10th regular. meeting.
Gotcha, my mistake.
Okay,
Abstain.
Okay. Foreman,
yes.
Keller. Perry,
Yes.
Reedy, abstain, Kaufman.
Yes.
And I will say yes as well. I didn't say anything wrong with them. That will have to go. So the January 10th regular meeting minutes will be approved as written. January 24th reorg minutes.
Foreman makes a motion, we approve them as written.
McCreary seconds.
All right, discussion on these. Hearing none, roll call.
Osprey,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller, abstain, Perry,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
and Kaufman.
Yes.
All right. Those will be approved as written. And now for the January 24th regular meeting minutes.
Foreman makes a motion, we approve them as written.
McCreary seconds.
Discussion. Hearing none, roll call.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
McCurry,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Chopper,
Yes.
All right. 5 yes, January 24th minutes will be approved as written.
I didn't change it. I did that, that's not bad.
All right, moving on. Approval of tonight's agenda. I'm not aware of any changes. Jeff says we don't have to amend to add the sponsor.
No, we need to amend just to designate one that comes up for reading.
All right. Motion to approve the agenda.
Foreman makes a motion to approve the agenda. No changes.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Cosgrave,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller, McCurry,
Yes.
Reed,
Yes.
Chopper,
Yes.
All right. First agenda item, visitors. There are none here, there are none online. So we'll move on to my reports. I'm going to keep it short. First thing is, and I'm going to look for it here in a minute. Jeff tells me that he heard that the bill to allow remote participation in meetings might be sitting on the governor's desk. So I'm going to look for that to confirm, so you might be able to vote at the next meeting. I think it's funny how it came about, because if everybody watched the news a couple weeks ago, the Secretary of State got COVID, couldn't attend a mandatory meeting, so they changed the rules of the meeting to meet remotely. And then the press said, time out, you can't do that. And then all of a sudden we get movement on our bill. So
Figure that.
No evidence whatsoever.
So I will look for that to confirm as soon as we can, and hopefully we'll be back and you'll be able to participate remotely.
Sounds good.
With that, that will also help. We've got a bunch of public hearings coming up. We've got this week, February 16th at 7 p.m. in the Opera House for swimming pools and fence changes. That's a planning and zoning public hearing. And then we have one on February 24th. That is a council public hearing with regards to a planned unit development. In March, we have a public hearing for ordinance 2021-24. That is the ordinance regarding lot coverage. That's a council public hearing in the Opera House. That is March 7th. And then April 18th at 7 p.m., a council public hearing on ordinance 2021-25, which is the short-term rental public hearing. So lots of public hearings coming up. That said, I know Jeff wants to have an exec, so I'll keep my last things quick. We got snow and ice a couple weeks ago. The team, I think, did a great job of plowing the streets. Peg was out on the sidewalks, getting those cleaned up. But I did ask Terry to put on service a discussion of our snowplow policy, because I think they did great. And most of the residents I talked to did great. But we learn something every year, and it gives us a chance to revisit. Some complaints I heard this year, and this is why I want to have it in service, because someone's going to have to talk me off the ledge. Because it has to do with alleys, and I don't think we should plow alleys, and people getting their cars plowed in, snow coming down the street. And I get it that some of our residents are older and have mobility issues, and maybe it's just the fact that I lived in Columbus for a long time, and your alley never got plowed. And if your residential street got plowed, it was a good day. And if your mirror was on your car after it got plowed, it was a really good day. So, when I hear those complaints, maybe it's just me, but I asked Terry, and we try to learn from all of it. So she's working with the team so we can have a discussion at service about, is there a place for improvement? So, but I think they did. So, any questions for me? If not, I will turn it over to Terry.
Okay, so I think of importance, we talked about shut-offs are scheduled for this week. During the Christmas season, I didn't do shut-offs. We did do door hangers last month, which seemed to work really well. But I think we'll do shut-offs this week for sure. Creative Foods failed their backflow test. And we heard it from the plumber. They failed it on January 31st. As of today, I had Joey call that plumber and they had not fixed it. So I sent notification to Creative Foods and told them by Friday by noon, I needed their plan of action, or I was going to have to discontinue their water service. Now, the backflow valve failed was on their fire suppression line, but I have it on 2 authorities that told me that it still could allow contamination into our water line if we lose pressure. So I did receive an email back before close of day today, and tomorrow morning they'll be telling me when their parts are going to be here to fix it. So just to let you know that's going on. If you remember when Brad was here at service a couple weeks ago, you all wanted him to ask Jack Jones about this cost of testing, and if there was a way that they could help us out by either lowering the cost of testing or, well, basically lowering the cost of testing. Jack did get with that back with Brad on Friday, I believe, and told him that's higher than him. So we're going to get a name for someone to ask about that this week. He is having the bug guy is coming tomorrow. I requested he come and do an evaluation of our bugs to see how they're working, because we have the heavy solids. So I will have more report for you at the service meeting on what the results of this visit was. The street department, they've been doing really good. If you haven't noticed, they've been out doing potholes. Just between February 8th and February 11th, they did 195 patches. So 'tis the season for potholes. I think it's important that if someone says to you, I got a pothole, nobody's taking care of it, they can go to the website and send me a direct email with their address, and then I will put that on the list for the pothole to be patched for the potholes. So we do have a list that we keep, so we know exactly where we've been. In fact, I might just send that to you for service meeting, but not go through it, so you know exactly where they're at. I wanted to thank Shane Hamilton. A couple weeks ago, he was going home, and we have that stoplight at the corner of Boswell and Market that everybody uses at a Target. It seems like for some reason somebody keeps hitting it. I'm not sure how tall this truck or whatever it is that's been hitting it. It had knocked the green lens loose, so on his way home, he saw it, so he just stopped and put his truck up and fixed our light for us. So I thought that was great, and he wouldn't take payment for it. So I wanted to say thank you to him for that. The street repaving, the repaving bids that we sent out last year that we got no bids on, we did resend those out, and we'll open the bids on the 17th. We have one inquiry about the paving, so, and I sent them off to the engineers, so we should have at least somebody bidding on this. My concern is going to be, like it always has been, is the cost of materials. So we'll go from there. I've been spending a lot of time in grant world. So the small government grant that we got last year for the Fema water line will begin this week. I'm really excited. They have the pipe up there already. We should see construction this week. Everybody in the area, we hand delivered a letter to, so they knew what was going on and how long it would take, because it's going to take weather. We're looking at still, saying Wednesday, wow, we're going to be wet in the 50s. So he's like real excited about getting started. If we can keep good weather, 2 or 3 weeks and we'll be done with that project. So that's really exciting. Again, the Park Drive project, which was the OPWC project from last year, that got no bids on it. Again, went out to bid early this year. And we'll be looking at those bids on the 17th. The goal is to have, to start construction in late April or May and to get that portion of Summer's Choice turned around so it's ready for when the pool opens. And then we'll concentrate on the sidewalks and everything else on Park. The OPWC round this year for the Granville Water Project. Last Friday was my committee meeting in Delaware. We graded all of the projects. There's like, what, 61 projects this year. And there are different categories that you can grade the project you get. It's by an amount. So, so like if you're an LMI, you get so many, below the LMI, you get so many points, you know. And when I get the spreadsheet and they have been approved, then I'll share them with you. So you can see where our projects landed. What is going to happen is this Friday, I have an executive committee meeting. We had, didn't use all of the loan money. Many of the villages or municipalities like myself tend not to go for loans because you have to pay the loans back even if they're 0%. So we had a lot of loan money and we had a couple of projects that were on the bubble that we're going to ask if they would take loan money. So we'll be doing it at 9 o'clock and then at 10 o'clock, I'll be meeting with my small government group. And what the small government group is, they look at all the projects that that we're going to send to the state to fund. Then the projects that fall below that, it's usually around 30 projects. So project 31, 32, 33, like our Coomer project, have the possibility of still being funded to what they call a small government grant. So then we'll be deciding on that. And then at 10:30, I'll be meeting with the big integrated committee and we'll vote on the final slate of all the projects that we're sending up. So that means at service meeting next week, I can tell you whether our project is going to make the cutoff, you know, and from here it goes to the state and then the state looks at it and says, okay, we're going to do this. So I over explained because I kind of wanted you to understand it's a very long, in-depth process. Trust me, we sit around the table with all these projects and assign, you know, values to them. Takes a long time. So the pool grants have all been submitted. I submitted it to 2 foundations plus to Robert. We will not hear until March 15th whether we've gotten the funds or not. We've got to put a plan B together because I want to get most of that done before the pool opens. So I had conversations with Brian today. I think I have a plan because I feel very comfortable with the 2 foundations and Robert's foundation, and another group has stepped up to the plate and said they would help, that we'll be able to get these improvements done this year. I think it'll be great for the village, great for the village. 2 other grants I'm looking at right now is a FEMA grant to help reduce flooding. I thought I had something nailed down for the FEMA grant, but when I started reading all the details, what this grant is supposed to do is eliminate any flooding within the village. So any improvements I make, I have to justify by saying what's not going to get flooded now. My project that I was thinking about is probably not going to fly, but I have to look at it a little more. In fact, I sent an email off to the FEMA representative today to ask them if they think that project would be considered, and that would be the expansion of the retention basin. The last grant I'm looking at, it only comes out every 2 years. This is the Cdbg Grant, Community Development Block Grant that Fairfield County has for the whole county. So the whole county has $300,000 worth of grant money that they can apply for. But that's for the whole county. That's for Lancaster and Pickerington and us and Bremen, and it's very competitive. So I met today with the team, and I think I have come up with an idea to apply for the grant, which I'll be running past James to see if it qualifies. And then at the service meeting, then I will have a nail down so you all can see what we're going to do. I think that's really all I have, unless you have, oh, one last thing. Again, you gotta love legislation. Unlike the mayor, I don't always follow legislation unless my husband says, did you see? There was legislation passed at the beginning of the year that now requires anybody who's getting a CDL, regardless what class it is, they have to go to school. So we now go from anybody that wants a CDL, gets a permit, rides around with somebody that has a CDL, much like a learner's permit, and then they go test and they can get their CDL license. Now the government says, no, you will go to school. That schooling costs about $11,000. And they must go to school now. Yep. And so now we just happened, the new person that we hired, Scott Oliver, had, for some reason, just before he hired, went and got his permit. So I had Tim call, and according to the BMB, since he already had the permit in hand before this bill passed, that he can go ahead and test underneath the old rules. So if that happens, then I will have 2 CDLs. But how sad that this flew under the radar, and here we are now paying $10,000, $11,000 to send our guys to school to get a CDL. I'll get off my day.
I have 2 questions. One, why would we be averse to 0% loans? Wouldn't it be better to spend money now to do these projects with today's dollars and pay it back with deflated dollars over the next 5 years or so, when it's not really costing some interest? I don't understand why we would be 0% loan averse, especially in this current climate.
And the answer to that, Rick, is I can take out a 0% loan. And right now, as you know, we have quite a few of them for the water and the wastewater plant. Once I take the loan out, I have to make a payment. So that means that money has to come from somewhere. And that would be from rate increases. There is no other honeypot out there that says, okay, here, you can make your payments out of here. Plus, you know, you're obligated for 30 years to continue to do that. So, you know, we had talked before that my goal was not to strangle the residents of the village with any loans if we can stay away from it. Because basically, that's the only way the money gets paid back.
So those are only available for sewer and water, or?
They are available for sewer and water, but they are available for streets, and you are correct. We, in one of our applications, we did take out a small loan for the street, didn't we, Brad?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and then that, you're right, then we do use that money and it's at 0%. I'm sorry. You know, I should have said that. For streets, yes, because we can go to Parker or even to the state and get, and we can pay that back, then we have extra money. But water and sewer, those are the ones that are most expensive. And she told me to go ahead and get a 0% loan. For them, I'd rather not right now.
And then the other question was, like on the FEMA grant,
Mhm.
wouldn't any stormwater project in the village qualify? Is that would try to keep stormwater out of our sewer problem, where our big
Yeah.
EPA problem is? So without that existing storm, how much is being put into the sanitary that shouldn't be?
And that was one of my questions to the representative. Because as you know, we have our flow meters now, and we're gonna start tracking where we get the biggest influx for the I&I. Now, to me, we had, when House Bill 168 was here, if you remember, we had submitted a request for a grant to pay for that design and the creation of that sewer project. We had 4 steps that we went through. And of course, 168, we got none of the money. So my question to them is, can I use that for I&I? And this is our process that we want to do. Our meters cost, what was it,
32,000.
32,000, just the flow meters to help us identify the problem, which we have to do. You know, and then the biggest cost is going to be coming in education and redoing all these storm lines and et cetera. But no, you're correct. Now, the FEMA grant is now just because of everything that's happened this past year. It probably won't be there next year. So you're right. I need to make sure that our projects can fit it. So we did talk about that today. We had a meeting that we talked about what can we do. So they're good questions. Did I answer them?
Jurisdiction is what it sounded like on the second.
Yes,
Yeah.
And
yes,
on the first one, it was like, well, let's wait and see if we need it. And if
yes.
we do, we're not averse to it.
That is correct, especially for streets.
Right.
our income from streets is much better than our income from water. Is that a true statement, Brian?
And currently less encumbered.
Yes,
Right.
yes, that is.
I'm aware of that.
That's all I have.
I have a
Yes.
question regarding, do we have any overflows with this?
We did have 2 small overflows, and they weren't really big, and I feel bad to get something from the plant through this Fema grant, because when I talked to Brad today, when we first started working on, from the mill, the effluent was tea colored. It was the color of tea. This last overflow, if you would have went up there, and I know Rick doesn't like me to say this, but you could have drank it. It was. So we are making progress, you know, and
Reroll those.
so, you know, we will keep monitoring. And at the service meeting, then I'll have the metrics going for you, so you can see the overflows.
So now,
Use great water out in California.
Don't disagree. There are also things floating in that water that you don't want to see in your creek, okay?
That's all.
They may not turn it brown, but.
All right, anything else for Terry? All right, Brian,
I don't think I have anything else to add to that.
cool.
go for your.
One piece of legislation new on the agenda, and that is to authorize the village administrator and fiscal officer to apply for a loan to pay for the new truck, service truck. And it's through Park National Bank, and the ordinance sets forth the interest rate and the amount to be borrowed. And,
It went through
Because-
committees.
okay, good. And so, and it's, it does carry emergency language. So sooner the better, because those rates are locked in. That rate is locked in for just a certain number of days. I believe it's 10 days, Brad.
I believe so. Yes, and we've got, we've already scheduled the signing of this loan on Wednesday. As soon as, hopefully it passes tonight, that way that can. We'll think forward.
And we have a much more capable snow removal truck.
Yes.
It's not-
Absolutely, and that's the other thing.
It's far more
If
capable.
the car dealership is being very, you want to say nice, but we do business with them a lot, and not selling it. But if we don't take this one, it'll be August, and all the snow will be gone, of course. So
Yeah.
and most importantly, we do not need a CDL to drive this one. Okay.
House Bill 51, no, you're fine.
I was gonna say, I looked up the full history here. Yeah.
So it's awaiting the governor's signature that extends the virtual meeting to July 1st of this year.
Right.
So it's anticipated the governor is going to sign that if passed by an 88-1 vote, I believe, in the House. And once that passes, then anyone, any of you can dial in. Basically, you can sign in virtually and participate and vote and participate in discussions and everything like that. So if there's any concern that somebody in your family or somebody you have regular contact with may have COVID, then the best thing to do is stay home and it's gone pretty smoothly.
I think very
Those
smoothly.
those meetings have, so they're still open to the public. There's public comment section to those meetings. That's so again, it's anticipated the governor's going to sign that. Did you have something like that?
I was gonna say, and since we're ragging on the guys up in Columbus, the permanent one is still stalled in committee. They introduced a temporary one to do this, and then they rolled it up into another bill to pass so that it can get passed. And so apparently we no longer believe in single subject in Ohio, because the ability to attend meetings remotely is a section of the bill that is in regards to valuation adjustments for destroyed and injured property.
Well, we
Because
don't wanna
that
raise
makes sense.
They're related.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right.
And the other thing, I do ask after regular business for a brief executive session to continue discussions on land acquisition. So, and the last thing I want to bring council up to date on is the older council members that have been on council for a while are aware that I am a member of the Fairfield County Parks Board. And we had a meeting earlier today. The Parks Board acquired the Wagner property at this northeast corner of Leonard Road. And they're in the process of developing that. It's going to be a slow process. They purchased it with a lot of grant money. And the most recent activity that they had on that was they invited a representative from the Ohio History Connection to come out and look at some of the houses on the property to see whether they had any historic value and or whether they didn't, and if they didn't, whether there was going to be any objection to those being raised. And the recently, as of a couple weeks ago, the Ohio History Connection did come out. They did an evaluation of it, and the bottom line is they say that there's nothing of any historic value in the two houses. The one smaller house sits almost right at the corner, 158. The other bigger farmhouses to the east of that. But they've been updated over the years and semi-modernized and that sort of thing. The smaller house has a concrete block basement wall, so that there's nothing of any historic value there. So the Parks Board has applied to the land bank, Fairfield County Land Bank, for funding in order to raise them. So that's all development of that portion. So no action required by council. There's no village involvement formally in that project. But I just like to update council on what's going on with that because it's adjacent to the village. They're going to partner with the school system for all kinds of science projects and that sort of thing. So hey, that's it. That's all I have.
You've given
I
us
was
in
just gonna say,
6
I
months.
wish I would have timed that.
Well, it would definitely been shorter than you.
All right. Moving on, committee reports, finance.
Okay, Mayor, we met tonight and we went over the December and January finance and seemed to be okay, working order. We did go over the that truck that Jeff just talked about, that F-550 to get the loan. It passed committee. So that will, I want to thank Brian to go out to the two different banks and get a loan for that. Good thing for you, Brian. Thanks. Also, Terry brought up about a forgiveness. You know, if a resident has a high water bill or a sewer bill that, you know, that a pipe leaked or something they didn't know about, and you know, it might be a large sum of money that they can get a forgiveness from the village. We talked about that and we agree to give this one resident a forgiveness on part of their water bill. And I believe that's about it, Mayor. And our next meeting is March 14 at 6 o'clock.
All right. Service.
Service hasn't met since last January. Next meeting is going to be this week.
Safety.
Yes, Mayor, our last meeting, last official meeting was actually in, I believe, November last year. So the minutes for any of this meetings are available online. We will meet February 28th, 6:45.
Bruce.
We met tonight and we reviewed the minutes and we reviewed the agenda. Everybody was present and our next meeting is March 14th.
Chief.
Thanks, Mayor. We, as we discussed, we're attempting to
hire some replacements. I just got a confirmation, call from one of the officers who we usually rely on for about 30 hours a week of patrol coverage. He is going to be leaving us. So when it comes in buckets. And, trying to sort that all out. We had two people that we were looking at, and neither of them can pass our standards, our background standards. They both had some issues that allowed them to go forward. So we, through the small department consortium, which we are members of, have sent them a notice that we're taking applications. The good thing about that is they are mostly in southeastern Ohio, and you have a lot of smaller agencies down there. So that when I say this is what we pay, they look at it and say, well, okay, well, southeastern Ohio, that's what we pay. So we may get some bites off of that. They've got 3 different media sources. They're going to post those in all 3. And because we're members, it doesn't cost us anything. We'll run until we tell them to take it down. We hope to get something off of that quickly. Deputy Chief has training set up for Peg and the new Terry. They both have to go through leads training, basically because we have paperwork that's issued to us by leads. It is illegal for anyone other than a law enforcement official to look at it, touch it, possess it, whatever. It's not only causes us all kinds of grief, but it's a criminal offense. It's a felony. So we went through an event here several years ago that created a lot of heartburn. We're not going to do that again. So they're both set up to go down and take the training. It's going to be offered down at the Sheriff's Department, and we'll have them both up to speed on that. Terry was down last week. She worked with Deputy Chief on what her responsibilities may be, and we kind of just showed her around, showed her where things are located, whatever. It's kind of get to know some of the guys kind of day, and that seemed with that pretty well. During the level 3, I got several phone calls on snowmobiles on village streets. It is illegal. Level 3 means just exactly that. It doesn't mean you can't drive your car unless it's a snowmobile or a four-wheeler. That's not what it means at all. And we're going to be putting something, we've been a little busy on the police Facebook. We're going to put the section on there that basically covers that to make sure that everybody understands that if they're on a snowmobile or whatever on a city street during a level 3, that they will be ticketed and the vehicle will be impounded. I don't know what else to do to stop that, to be quite honest. You don't understand the problems that they create for the guys out in snow plows, the guys that are out trying to get the people that need help, whatever. They're out there having a great time, and I get that, but you can't tell me around Baltimore there's not 1,000 acres of open fields you can't go out plenty of. So I don't know why that was such a big deal this year. So we've had calls before, but nothing like we got this year.
It's a 2nd-degree misdemeanor, misconduct in an emergency.
Yes, it is.
I wanted to check it essential and elective emergency.
No,
We're not.
no.
So
It'll have to
employees
be-
can't report.
It's police, and it's police, fire, medical,
Street, if you're plowing,
streets if you're plowing, and that's pretty much it.
hospital.
No, that's not.
Yeah, medical.
That's pretty much it.
Now,
I will
allowing
tell-
needs supplies.
Well, I should say that I will tell you that I personally have, I think that, to me, it makes perfect sense if you've got like a hardware or something selling salt, selling snow shovels, you would certainly think that, but I guess their theory of it is, how do the people get to where you're at, because they're not allowed to come to your store anyway. So that's probably how they tie the two together.
But also the guys doing the work need stuff to.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. Let's see, I think that is, one minor thing for us. So car 2, Ford car 2, We hit a deer with it the other night. Fortunately, we had the big bumper guards on the front, and it's bumper guard, one deer, nothing at this point. So it dinged it a little bit, but I think, once it warms up, we get it off with a little heat on it. That's what we're doing. The cars that we're shooting from, getting beat up. So other than that, I think that's all. I've got at this point.
Any other questions, Chief? All right. Fire board, still need a volunteer. All right, so we'll move on. Planning and zoning, we didn't meet this month because we got a public hearing later this week. Tree Commission.
We did not meet this month because we usually take 1 month off in the winter. Next meeting, we'll be doing our planning plan for 2022.
Records Commission hasn't met yet. We'll get something going here. Takes us to motions.
Motion from executive session after the regular business, huh? That motion made a motion. Executive session.
Form a second.
For clarification, that's for land acquisition. Everybody around the table.
Yeah, I don't need
And
to
on.
cheat. He's welcome to attend.
Okay. All right. And your second form. All right. Discussion. Roll call.
House,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller. Occurred.
Yes.
Reading.
Yes.
Falcon.
Yes.
All right, we will have a brief executive session afterwards. Moving on, ordinances, resolutions, first reading, ordinance 2022-03, an ordinance authorizing village administrator and fiscal officer to contract with Park National Bank for finance and purchase of the 2022 Ford F-550 service truck for the service department and declaration of emergency. Sponsor is Cosgrave.
Yes, this went through finance committee and brought it up to council. I'm going to make a motion that we, since it's a declaration of emergency, dispense with the free reading.
Motion to suspend for reading.
Form and second.
Roll call.
House,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
McCurdy,
Yes.
Reading,
Yes.
and Falcon.
Yes.
All right, reading suspended.
Make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2022-03.
Form a second.
Discussion on 2022. Hearing none, roll call.
House,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
McCurdy,
Yes.
Reading,
Yes.
Falcon.
Yes.
All right, 2022-03 will be adopted.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Before we go on the motions, so this company to make a motion on the
Forgiveness on the-
forgiveness.
You could. Who did it? Did you do that? Just a motion
I-
to
I- I
to
will
approve
motion to
the
approve,
one-time $300 adjustment.
right, the adjustment for the broken water pipe for the resident.
Form a second.
Discussion? Roll call.
House,
Yes.
Foreman,
Yes.
McCurdy,
Yes.
Reading,
Yes.
Falcon.
Yes.
That'll pass. Thanks for the reminder, Brian.
You're
Second readings, none. Third readings, none. Tabled ordinances, we have those public hearings scheduled, so they will remain tabled. Gets us to old business, and it says qualified elector for appointment. And I was looking through my notes. I don't quite remember what that is.
It's what we, is taking the fourth person.
Oh, okay.
No. No. That wasn't-
Was that, Rick, was that your thing for rules about prior council members being appointed?
Right.
I
And
Okay.
guess,
I guess at this point, are we gonna just address it in rules? I mean, we're going through the rules. If we're gonna have
I'm still
discussion.
researching.
Okay,
Okay.
that's what. it
And
was.
they
So-
could be. comfortable.
Well, let's leave it on here too, because Jeff's also researching it. So, okay, so no update?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other old business? Any new business? All right, any last call? All right, then it's 8:14. We're going to take a quick minute. I'll do this for the record. We will stop the live stream, stop the recording on the Zoom meeting. Chuck will stand, don't stop yet, right? And then when we resume into regular session, if our only business is to adjourn, we won't start the live stream again. If there is council action to be taken afterwards, then we will restart that so that the record is there for the public. And with that, now we